We talk oftentimes about this "I don't need a man" philosophy. I don't need a man, I don't need a man. That's been indoctrinated into young women. The reason for that is that in many cases, men have been reduced to a wallet. So women are having these conversations about men and they're saying, well, I have a job, I have financial stability, so I don't need a man for that. And what they're forgetting about is all of the other things that guys bring to the table. They're forgetting about, that shoulder to cry on. They're forgetting about that sense of union when times get tough. They're forgetting about someone, starts breaking into your home and you don't want to handle that situation. You want your protector guy to handle that situation. Let's be honest. They're forgetting about, well, I'm going to want kids and I'm going to want my kid to have a father, a real father. And remember, women and men bring different things to the table. Dads and moms bring different things to the table. So a mom can't be a dad. A dad can't be a mom. It is different.
We talk about this "I don't need a man" philosophy. Men have been reduced to a wallet. Now that women are more career-oriented and financially independent, they start saying that they don't need a man because they can make their own money. They say they don't need a man in their lives, so they live independently of men. But here's where they go wrong. A man is not just a wallet. He's part of the half that makes a relationship work. He's wired by nature to protect women and children and provide for them as an intrinsic duty he feels since birth. Women forget all the other things that a guy brings to the table. Men are expected to perform greater and oftentimes dangerous tasks while providing women a larger share of the rewards. Now that some males have understood this and are backing off, it is tough for women to fight for equality. Men will be able to tell when they are being exploited if they are told that they are required because they are expected to do far more than their share and provide women with at least half of the wealth. In spite of what women claim, if men treat women equally, more men would go their own way, which is not something that women are not happy about either. In the past, men used to experience less agony and suffering when they died in the war, at least in the past. However, nowadays, a man who gets divorced and loses his house, children, wife, and a sense of purpose is in a far worse situation than a man who dies on the battleground. Throughout their lives, men are supposed to do everything for women and literally dedicate their lives to providing for, protecting, and helping women. And you know what? Men do that with a lot of joy, and it brings them a lot of satisfaction when they know they're being the providers. It gives them a solid purpose because they know they're doing justice to what the universe meant for them to do. They do it proudly because that's in their nature. I'm talking about high-value men, not a simp who starts crying if he gets rejected by a girl. But the question is, why is it that women expect everything from a man, especially when all they can do now is talk about equality and how men have oppressed them and controlled them? It's quite true that modern women have become too entitled. Through all of this going on, women have the audacity to even ask what men bring to the table. Well, men probably built the table and farmed all the meat and the vegetables that are going on a woman's plate that's on the table. Men probably worked on the water mains that enable women to fill up their kettles or have a glass of water with food that men farmed to put on the table that they built. Or maybe women want a beer with dinner from the food that men farmed on the table that they built. Men worked at the breweries to produce that beer that women can drink to eat with the food that men farmed on the table that they built. And when it's snowing outside, women would much rather eat their food that's been farmed by men on the table that's been built by men indoors who built their house. Men laid the foundations for the male bricklayers to build a house that the male roofers could put a roof on so then women could eat their dinner farmed by men. He continued and said, "Drink the drink that's been produced by men on the table that's been built by men." So I think we bring more than enough to the table. As I always say, women's entitlement is unwarranted, and men really don't need to sugarcoat things for women anymore, because they've clearly got the wrong idea about their role in modern society. Men need to put a woman in her place if she makes any unwarranted or untrue claim based on her overly inflated ego and entitlement. The real truth is that feminism gave women encouragement and empowered them to start living their lives in such a way that they wouldn't need the help of a man. It taught them that they could be financially independent if they made the choice to study and climb the corporate ladder. It taught them that they could also provide for their families and make money to raise children, even if they didn't have men in their lives anymore. It enabled them to think that they could live their lives without families, without having children, and be who they wanted to be, without having to worry about their biological need to have children and raise them. Over time, what happened was that more and more women chased their corporate dreams, thought that they could take over men's role in society, and practically waste away their fertile and prime years in either pursuing a career or chasing the stereotypical bad boys. But soon enough, when these women got to their 30s and above, they started realizing that with every passing year, it was becoming harder and harder for them to become pregnant. And so started their change in mindset and realization that life wasn't just about becoming wealthy or believing in the extreme forms of feminism that make these women think they can live their lives without men or without having families and adhering to their natural feminine tendencies. They also began to realize that men of their age prefer younger women and began to wonder why they were being ignored by men. This is why I feel that modern feminism has lied to women in general. Modern feminism has robbed women of their meaning and purpose and given them a new purpose that is only making women more and more miserable. You only have to go and see the women around your society or online today to know what I mean. Women are miserable because of feminism. They think they're part of some positive movement that liberates them of their worries when in fact, it only steals their value from them. I was recently reading a study that said women who enter the marriage as virgins or with one sex, which is now a rarity, are the least likely to divorce. Women with 10 or more partners are the most likely to divorce. But this only became true in recent years, the study said. This only goes to show that the more women sleep around, the more they're likely to lose any sense of loyalty and future stability when it comes to relationships. On top of that, no man truly wants to be with a woman who has a high body count. The roles that men and women occupy have not altered. A man will be more successful if he is more in line with his masculinity. If he suddenly decides that he'd want to be a woman due to popular culture, he won't be able to achieve that. Similarly, a woman's success increases as she becomes more in tune with her feminine side. She doesn't view success as generating riches. It has to do with her kids' well-being. It happens when she spends time with her family. To seem like being naturally feminine is a weakness. Contemporary feminism has utterly misrepresented this. The shocking truth about independent women is that women have been fed the feminist Kool-Aid since they were in their teens, which pushed them to live their lives independently of men as some sort of an example of success. However, most if not all of these women do eventually come to realize that life's not just about making money and proving men wrong. It's actually about being true to their feminine nature, which allows them to be nurturers and care providers for their families, giving them comfort and finding happiness and joy in raising them. Time after time we see women talk about being independent and then one day realize that they have been wrong about it. Independent women are eventually miserable because, in the quest for their independence, they lose out their meaning and purpose in their lives because they don't have healthy relationships with male partners. Thanks for watching The Circle of Kings. Show us your love and support by liking and subscribing to the channel.